All right, moving on to the beatdown that the Buffalo Bills laid on the Miami Dolphins in Miami. A shutout, guys. That Buffalo defense was one of the highest scoring fantasy units, including amongst players of the week. Something to monitor for this game was Tua Tagovailoa's injury. He was carted off the field early in the first quarter with a rib injury. The current prognosis is bruised ribs. That led rise to Jacoby Brissett took over, and you look at the rookie card sales from Jacoby Brissett. The market is very fluid, very reactive to big teams getting new starting quarterbacks. Whether or not they're truly like great quarterbacks doesn't really matter. The market is very impulsive to these type of events, and this led to a significant number of Jacoby Brissett rookie cards flying off the shelves. It's yet to be seen whether or not Tua is going to miss time in the coming weeks. But if he is, this is your opportunity to go ahead and sell Jacoby Brissett rookie cards because the hype is going to be there. This guy does have some rushing ability, does have some rushing upside. He also has flashed a pretty decent arm in the past in Indianapolis. So I think he can definitely play the part of a starting NFL quarterback, and he could flash some nice athleticism for Miami, leading some nice opportunities for people holding his rookie cards, the opportunity to sell them at for a profit. Otherwise, look to sell high on Devin Singletary after this game. I mean, Devin Singletary had a monster game. Yeah, 13 carries, 82 yards, but he turned that into a touchdown. And 2 for 3 receptions, 9 yards. Also, one of those was a 46-yard touchdown where he broke a couple tackles in the first 3 minutes. It was a big highlight. Zach Moss had a pretty solid game, had a pretty good broken tackle at the goal line. So I think the Bills are likely to run less run plays in games that aren't winning 35-0. So, right, they like to throw the ball a lot, but when they do run it, it could be closer to even split with Moss and Singletary, and this is a very good opportunity to see some increased demand in Moss and Singletary rookie cards after yesterday and potentially take advantage of that. That's one guy that I'm looking to sell this week. Emmanuel Sanders, he led the Bills in receiving yards this game while finishing with the second most targets, and this is very promising for him to be a secondary wide receiver behind Stephon Diggs. And there's definitely some opportunities for Emmanuel Sanders with that speed to put up some nice highlights this year. So a player to watch, and definitely has some scarcity around that rookie card of his going back to 2010, I think. So, you can definitely pick up those Topps Chrome rookie cards, those short print refractors of him for pretty cheap, pretty cheap, and potentially hold those for a playoff run from the Bills. That would kind of be my thought there. Let's move on to the Denver Broncos at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence did not look so great again, guys. I mean, Trevor Lawrence did not look so great again. He was 14 for 33 against Denver's defense, and that only led to 118 yards. He did get one touchdown through my guy Marvin Jones. So Marvin Jones continuing to ascend in that offense, finding ways to get open. But Trevor Lawrence had 2 interceptions. You also got to see Trevor Lawrence run the ball just a bit, 2 carries for 21 yards. That team overall just still not playing very good at all. Marvin Jones Jr. was a highlight from this game for me. 6 receptions, 55 yards, a touchdown. Something to monitor from this game is Laviska Shenault. Monitor that injury on Laviska Shenault. He's having an MRI on his shoulder. Looks to potentially have hurt his shoulder in that game. I would stand pat on James Robinson. I think this is an encouraging sign for James Robinson in this game that he got 11 carries to Carlos Hyde's 2, and he also got 3 targets to Carlos Hyde's 2. So James Robinson is not dead yet. He's still out there. He actually had a better week 2 this week. And monitor that Laviska Shenault injury. Hold his rookie cards in that for now because he is so young. Don't panic sell. DJ Chark had a quiet game, but overall, that Jacksonville offense has got to get going better than this. On the other side, Denver Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater going out and doing his thing again, guys. Teddy Bridgewater having a really solid week, and a lot of that went through Courtland Sutton, man, the alpha that I've been talking about. So I'm very excited about his performance. 9 receptions on 150 9 yards, a 21.2 average distance of target. And he was out there for 53 snaps, which is pretty much 100%, not quite 100%, but about 85% of the Denver Broncos snaps. He ran 31 routes. He ran the most routes. He also had the 12 targets, the most targets out of any Denver wide receiver. So I love Courtland Sutton over Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, and Noah Fant. Absolutely love Courtland Sutton. He's a big, powerful wide receiver with great hands and great at the point of catch. And so his rookie cards are surely going up after that performance yesterday, especially now as Denver is tied for the lead in that AFC West with the Las Vegas Raiders, and they're both 2-0. And I want to look at the Denver Broncos upcoming schedule. They've got the Jets at home next week. Then they've got the Ravens, which is another shootout game. And then they've got at the Steelers. Definitely want to get this listed. I'm going to go ahead and list it in a buy it now format because he's going to continue to see double-digit targets in these matchups. I'm confident of that, and he's got the athletic ability to turn those targets into big highlights, big touchdown plays. That can lead to some nice profit in holding that rookie card. The next matchup I want to look at is the Los Angeles Rams at the Indianapolis Colts. This was a good matchup, but it was another disappointing performance from Carson Wentz. In fact, he had before he left with an apparent ankle injury of his own, another guy, that quarterback that was injured yesterday that didn't come back, and Jacob Eason stepped in for him. Carson Wentz had a shovel pass that was a forward shovel pass that was one of the worst I've ever seen, that was intercepted, and then he left with the injury, and then Jacob Eason came in and also threw an interception right away. And I know that Rams defense is good. They've got Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. They've got a very good defensive front and a very good secondary. And so it was very tough for the Indianapolis offense to produce against them. But you've got to be excited here if you're a Michael Pittman Jr. rookie card owner. He had the big performance of the day. Finally had a really good stat line from him. 8 receptions on 123 yards, and 3 of those were explosive plays. And you look at his targets yesterday, he was the target leader. He's still on the field a ton. He still runs a lot of routes. And if Carson Wentz misses any more time, he's definitely going to be a favorite target of Jacob Eason. Got the wild cannon arm, and even Sam Ehlinger, who could potentially fill in for Eason if Eason starts throwing a bunch of picks. And Eason's not mobile at all. So Zach Pascal's still heavily involved there, and he was becoming a favorite target of Carson Wentz, but we could see that shift to Michael Pittman's favor. Michael Pittman is definitely the alpha in the wide receiving group on that offense right now, next to Zach Pascal. Definitely want to monitor Darrell Henderson's injury, unfortunately, on the Rams side, but the big storyline, and it was another injured rib situation in the third quarter. He didn't return to the game. The big storyline is Cooper Kupp. And guys, I've been talking about it. Cooper Kupp's been meeting with Matt Stafford for breakfast throughout the week, and they've been talking about all these secret weapon plays and these different routes and different schemes that they're cooking up. And Cooper Kupp dominated again, man. Matt Stafford's finding him like you would not believe. Like, you would think Cooper Kupp is Megatron out there for Matt Stafford. And so Cooper Kupp getting 9 receptions for 163 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just an incredible clip when you look at wide receivers. He was up there as the number 2 wide receiver on the week. So he is the big sell high from that game. If you got a Cooper Kupp rookie cards, you're either going ahead and listing them and selling them now high because of the previous first 2 weeks performances. I mean, he's looking like an all-pro wide receiver this year. We've known he's had the ability, and now he's got Matt Stafford to unlock that. And so Cooper Kupp has been playing lights out the first 2 weeks. Has leads some great activity around his rookie card over the weekend and this week, and the hype's going to continue to grow for him. So I'm looking to sell some Cooper Kupp rookie cards. I would buy low on Jonathan Taylor if you still can. If you can find some nice prices on like his Prism Silver or Prism Black Silver or Field Level Silver. If you can find prices on those cards under $20, I would go ahead and buy those. Those are great short print cards to have of Jonathan Taylor. A lot of the offensive production is going to funnel through Jonathan Taylor on offense. He saw 2/3 of the snaps still. I mean, and they're going to have easier matchups here in the future. And with rookie quarterbacks and quarterbacks that aren't very good, a lot of that offensive production is going to funnel through Jonathan Taylor. All right, let's look at this Houston Texans at the Cleveland Browns game. Definitely want to monitor Baker Mayfield's shoulder injury. It didn't keep him sidelined long. He came back in. His left shoulder, thank God it wasn't his throwing arm. So Baker Mayfield came back in. Solid performance. Cleveland was able to take the win here against the Houston Texans at home. Nick Chubb had a massive game. This is a big Nick Chubb game. With 11 carries on 95 yards, including 9 broken tackles, guys. 9 broken tackles from my man Nick Chubb again. A touchdown. He even had a catch for 3 yards. But on the other end, still Brandon Cooks doing his thing again. So if his rookie cards are still underpriced, Brandon Cooks is a clear alpha. You want an alpha dominant wide receiver from one of the best Prism sets that there is printed. That's the 2014 Prism. That design is incredible. It's a highly liquid card. It's probably the best card from that year, and silver variation. If you can find them for, around $10 for Brandon Cooks, that's a fantastic investment in my opinion. This guy is quarterback proof. Again this week, he had a 46.7% threat rate, 9 receptions, 78 yards, another touchdown. So there was a lot of injuries in this game, though. This is Jarvis Landry injury. Man, Landry is expected to have a big week, but only lasted 2 snaps before suffering a knee injury that put him out for the rest of the game from the beginning. So that was that stinks. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I would definitely look at him as a receiving target. Buying Donovan Peoples-Jones rookie cards. He's been the clear 3rd receiver on the depth chart and would be in on every down player as long as Landry is out. And it looks like Landry potentially will miss time. Tyrod Taylor on the other side, the Texans starting quarterback, he limped off after a non-contact throwaway pass and was quickly ruled out due to a hamstring issue. We know how touchy those hamstrings are for NFL players. Davis Mills came in for the rest of the game. See, this is the guy that I would not be. This is a downgrade for the rest of the Texans offensive players. I would not be investing in Davis Mills rookie cards, expecting him to go out and put up a bunch of numbers with the Texans or for them to win games. They're clearly going to be one of the lower ranked teams in the NFL this year. And plus they're dealing with a bunch of other wide receiver injuries now. Nico Collins, shoulder, Damian Adola, hamstring, Chris Conlon, Andre Roberts. So they really got Brandon Cooks. That's it. You can forget about David Johnson, Mark Ingram. This is kind of your chance if you've been holding some Mark Ingram rookie cards for a while to go ahead and list those and look at selling those. Let's move on to the Cincinnati Bengals at the Chicago Bears. This was a big game, man, and the Bears defense at home in Soldier Field stepped up. It was pretty incredible because they were able to pick off Joe Burrow 3 times. 3 interceptions for Joe Burrow, the guy who came out and lit it up last week against Minnesota with Jamar Chase. Not so much this week. Really struggled to get going. Had those 3 interceptions. Did get going towards the end of the game. Had 2 touchdowns. One was to Jamar Chase. And on the other side, Andy Dalton. But Andy Dalton got hurt in this game. This is something to monitor because Andy Dalton hurt his leg in this game on a non-contact play, leading to the rookie taking over the rest of the game. Ideally, Fields would have won the job rather than being forced into it, though. He's now a top 8 fantasy quarterback moving forward if Andy Dalton misses any times. He ran the ball 10 times in this game and should have had more yards with that many carries in future weeks. He was kind of thrown into the fire in this game. And their defense, this was a defensive battle. The defense was able to keep them in this game. He also targeted Darnell Mooney quite a bit. I would definitely, if Darnell Mooney's cards haven't taken off after this weekend, and I've seen a ton of activity on Darnell Mooney's cards, and Darnell Mooney is a guy that wasn't printed in all of the major sets. Like, he doesn't have a rated rookie card. He doesn't have the Prism, the primary Prism card, but he was printed in the Prism Black Silver because by the end of the season, people noticed that he is a really good athlete, just went to a small school and went later in the draft. And so he is a really good athlete. He's got incredible route running, explosive ability. He did have a ball kind of go through his fingertips that could have been a big play with Justin Fields. That was uncharacteristic of him. It was so close to being a great catch. So if his cards haven't jumped off the block because of the Justin Fields news, and we'll see as this week goes on. I think once Justin Fields is announced the clear starter, then you're going to see Allen Robinson's and Darnell Mooney's rookie cards take a significant jump in value. And we saw that happen back in the draft when Justin Fields was drafted by Chicago. And we're going to see it again because Justin Fields is not just a good runner, a good athlete. He had a very good QBR, a very good accuracy rating in college. And so we're looking for him to not only be able to run the ball, but he's apparently a very good passer as well from his days in Ohio State. And so that is the hype, that is the expectation for him in Chicago. And this is going to be a big boost for Darnell Mooney and Allen Robinson. And Allen Robinson's that 2014 Prism. This is a guy I talked about last Wednesday in my Auction Sniper article and my Auction Sniper video on Patreon/football cards last week. I told the guys to go buy A-Rob and Darnell Mooney, and boy was I on point, because I was just under the expectation that Andy Dalton was going to be benched and given the starting job to Justin Fields, which is going to happen if Andy Dalton does come back in. I do not foresee Andy Dalton being able to play much more for Chicago this season. I think it's going to quickly become a Justin Fields show, and when that happens, there's going to be a ton of hype for Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney rookie cards, because these guys are very good athletes, and now their ceiling, they'll have a brand new ceiling that we have never seen before with Justin Fields. So I would say Joe Mixon had somewhat of a disappointing day with 8.1 PPR points, and but this shouldn't discourage any Joe Mixon rookie card owners, Joe Mixon investors, because I mean the guy is still one of those rare bell cow running backs, getting 80 to 90% of the snap share, 80 to 90% of the targets, and it's potential that his rookie cards could be flying under the radar right now. And Cincinnati so far has played really well. I mean, they just barely lost this game. If you could take back some of those Joe Burrow interceptions, and if Cincinnati would have won the turnover battle, I think you could be looking at a Cincinnati victory in this game. Their defense has played surprisingly better than expected, I think. Moving on to the New Orleans Saints at the Carolina Panthers. What the heck happened to Jameis Winston? Now, he turned back into the Jameis that we knew from Tampa, right? So the streakiness. He just couldn't get the passing game going. He did throw an interception. In fact, I think he threw 2 interceptions, if I remember correctly. You know, Carolina's defense really shut him out. Yeah, 2 interceptions, but he did have a carry that he ran into the end zone, so that was like his saving grace on the day. But he only ended the day with 4.34 fantasy points. Really hurt me on a couple of my fantasy teams. On the other side, Sam Darnold was solid. He was able to produce some points through the way of DJ Moore. DJ Moore had 8 receptions, 79 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 first down receptions. Big critical first down receptions. DJ Moore it emerged in this game big time, guys. Big time, clear snap leader ahead of Robbie Anderson and Terrace Marshall Jr. Clear route run leader at 38 routes to Robbie Anderson's 35. And he saw double-digit targets, 11 targets to Robbie Anderson's 5. So DJ Moore saw a ton of rookie card activity for him yesterday. And the Carolina Panthers are now 2-0, and that's a big market team. You got Christian McCaffrey, who's been firing on all cylinders, had another solid day here with 24.7 fantasy points, you know, doing his thing, 24 carries. He's one of those rare bell cows, 72 yards, a touchdown. Also had 5 receptions for 65 receiving yards, making people very happy that they drafted him number 1 overall. On the other side, Kamara, the other first-round fantasy draft selection for a lot of people. Very quiet day. Virtually everybody on that New Orleans offense had a very quiet day, as they were held to only 1 touchdown, that Jameis Winston run. So New Orleans lost the turnover battle. They also could not get the ball going down the field. A lot of incomplete passes from Winston. 11 for 22. So we're talking a 50% completion rate. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Saints do here this next week. Obviously, you're not panic selling on Jameis Winston rookie cards. They're obviously not going to continue to climb after that performance. But they've got the Patriots. They've got at the Patriots coming up. It's going to be another challenging performance for Jameis. But then they've got the Giants, which will be an easier performance. But then at Washington, a difficult performance. But they could definitely, you could see him getting some nice passing volume against that Washington secondary. They really need to get Michael Thomas healthy. They need to get Traquan Smith healthy there in that New Orleans passing attack. Kamara, it'll be interesting to see if Sean Payton sprinkles in more Taysom Hill after this performance this past week. But it's just something to monitor there. Adam Troutman did absolutely nil with his opportunities. It was really a Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore show. I think Sam Darnold, this is the first time he's been 2-0 in his life, in his NFL career. So if you do see some Alvin Kamara rookie card prices dipping this week because he had a very quiet game, I would be looking to buy Alvin Kamara rookie cards. He still led the team in both carries and targets. So he was not only the rushing leader in terms of carries, he was also the receiving leader in terms of targets. So that's pretty incredible. Moving on to the San Francisco 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles. And, man, Jalen Hurts, another great game from Jalen Hurts. And even though the Eagles lost this game, and Jalen Hurts went 12 for 23, which, by the way, went for 190 yards, some big plays in there. He did have 10 carries in this game that went for 82 yards and a touchdown. We got to see his athletic ability with his legs. Those were 3 explosive runs, guys. 3 very explosive runs. And it's one of those games where I look at Jalen Hurts' sales from over the weekend. They're continuing to climb. Jalen Hurts rookie cards are continuing to climb, continuing to go up in value. If you own them, you're very happy that you bought in early with me, right? And you're excited about his future in the NFL. And rookie card sales are going left and right for this guy. Being a 2020 athlete, there's a ton of different options available. I've currently listed recently a field level silver. I've got a bunch of rated rookies. San Francisco, though, getting the win in a game that was a defensive battle. I mean, it started out in the first quarter, punt, punt, punt. Philadelphia got a field goal. And then San Francisco punt. And then Philadelphia blocked field goal. And then San Francisco punt. The Eagles turnover on downs, which I remember that they tried a trick play, and this was 4th and goal. So this was another opportunity that Jalen Hurts could have scored, and they had a penalty. This was the play where Jalen Hurts had a 91-yard pass to Quez Watkins that took him all the way down, and then the penalties, and then the turnover on downs. They tried to do a trick play, kept them out of the end zone there, and then San Francisco turned around and got a touchdown from Jimmy Garoppolo. And then that was halftime, man. That was halftime. So you can see how low scoring this game was. And then in the third quarter, punt, touchdown from Jimmy Garoppolo. They finally put together a 16-play drive in a game where San Francisco saw all of their starting running backs get injured again. Elijah Mitchell left with an injury. Trey Sermon left with an injury. And JaMychal Hasty's all left with injuries in this game. It was absolutely crazy. Stand pat on Brandon Ayuk. Dude, the guy finally got a catch in this game. He played roughly 2/3 of the snap with Trent Sherfield playing the other third. The 49ers used 22 personnel and 17 snaps, which limited the playing time of all the receivers. Moving on to the New England Patriots at the New York Jets. And this was a game where I intentionally sat Corey Davis from my fantasy roster because I knew how difficult the New England Patriots defense was going to be for the Jets. I didn't realize, though, that Zach Wilson was going to throw 4 interceptions. He showed the inexperience. He showed the poor decision downside that he has coming from a small school, never playing a defense as regimented and as disciplined as a Patriots defense. 4 interceptions, guys. 4 interceptions from Zach Wilson. The Patriots steamrolled right over the New York Jets. From that, I was also fortunate enough to start New England's defense in one of my fantasy leagues. It also happens to be the league that the one matchup this week that I'm winning. So happy about that. James White having a big game in this game. I wouldn't necessarily say James White is an investment. I think he's a potential investment. I think he's going to have a solid little season. Damian Harris, certainly, because Damian Harris has more youth on James White. Damian Harris also had an incredible explosive run in this game, breaking several tackles, earning himself 67 yards after contact, 1 touchdown, 1 catch for 2 yards. So I love the production from Damian Harris in this game and James White. I think those guys are both assets for the rest of the season. Put them with Mac Jones. He's just such a good game manager. He only had 4.4 fantasy points in this game, but he was 22 for 30 completions, and 186 yards. We're going to see a lot of that from Mac Jones this year, compared to Zach Wilson's negative points because of how many dang interceptions he threw. And the scoring leader in that game, New England defense. Buying low on Jonnu Smith. He's a guy that I showed in the mail day from last week. I talked about how yoked he was, and he was limited in practice late in the week with a hip injury, which I didn't mention on that mail day video, but which likely limited his playing time in this game. But it still did not stop him from getting 5 targets that he turned into 4 receptions for 28 yards. So I definitely think that he should have better games going forward. He's just so versatile, so explosive that they scheme him into a variety of offensive formations and plays. And a tight end, a good tight end like that, is a rookie quarterback's best friend. So when they don't have the double-digit lead in games moving forward, then he'll be more involved. But right now we're really trying to pick up on the trends in the NFL, trying to predict season-long trajectories for teams and players, and then really hone in some good investments. A lot of other stuff that we're looking to flip, like if the hype is still there for Jameis because of his Week 1 performance and the preseason, then I'm looking to go ahead and sell those. Same thing, I'm going to be ready to maybe liquidate some cards like this for Darnell Mooney as the hype builds for him with Fields. Whereas, other cards I'm okay holding in the hopes that their team is going to make a playoff run when we have a consolidated focus and a much elevated hype on those. So I need to do an update on the Card Quest Investor Championship. We've got a lot of activity in that now that we've gotten 2 weeks of the NFL season under our belts. There wasn't much activity leading up into the season in terms of movement on the guys that were specifically selected in that competition. So it didn't really make a whole lot of sense for me to do a full update on that. Plus, we had everything going off with the season kickoff and fantasy drafts. But that's on the radar coming up for this week. Also, my ranks for 2020 sets, looking at release dates for new products, continuing to do a deep dive on performances, player outlooks for 2021, looking at 2021 rookies to target. I've seen, like I highlighted in my Saturday night spontaneous live stream, that there are some 2021 Donruss rookie cards of some of these skill position players that are good players that are potentially going undervalued here, which is a pretty interesting proposition. So I'm going to let you guys get out of here. I got to run. I'll see you in that next video. Peace. Holy crap. Tua Tagovailoa, as well as, talking about running backs. Nobody looking to sell more than this man right here, Derrick Henry, after his monster performance. Josh Allen, I'm sure that Josh Allen rookie card owners are starting to feel a little bit better, not as panicked about his outlook for 2021.